Mongolia is roughly 50% larger than the province of Ontario, and yet it has fewer people than the Greater Toronto Area. Most of them live in the capital of Ulaanbaatar. The rest of the country, the vast majority of the country, is steppe, sky, and a herding life that has been lived out there more or less unchanged for centuries. This is not a place you visit in luxury. It's a country with one real city, long drives between everywhere else, gravel roads that double as highways, and stretches where the bathroom break is whatever side of the bus you choose. None of that is incidental. It's the price of admission to a country that hasn't been smoothed over for visitors. It's the opposite of over-tourism, and we've built this trip around that fact, not in spite of it. 17 days, a crew that travels with us to make sure we have the comforts we need and enough time in the right places to make the long days feel earned. This trip isn't for everyone, but for those who choose it, it is an incredibly rewarding journey. We'll land at Genghis Khan International Airport and head east, away from the capital, into the granite and larch country of Terelj National Park. From there, we backtrack through Ulaanbaatar and west across the steppe to Kustai, where the wild Przewalski's horses graze a country that they were extinct from just 60 years ago. And then it's on to Elsen Tasarkai Dunes, an 80-kilometer ribbon of sand that runs through the middle of the grasslands, and Karakorum, the 13th century capital that ran half the known world at the time. Then the trip turns north, greener country, wetter air, the steppe giving way to forest. 3 nights on the Egg River, 2 more along the Selenge, the Amarbayas Galant Monastery on the way back, 17 days, 1 country, and an enormous amount of sky. The Mongolian word for the country itself is Munk Kuk Tengri, the eternal blue sky. You understand why almost immediately. The horizon out here is wider than most of us are used to, and the light has a quality that's hard to describe until you're standing in it. We'll spend our first nights in Terelj, in the granite valleys east of the capital, before driving west to Kustai. The taki, what the rest of the world calls Przewalski's horse, was declared extinct in the wild in the 1960s. But in the early 90s, 16 zoo-born descendants were flown back from the Netherlands and released into the Kustai Mountains. There are now around 450 of them roaming the park's 50,000 hectares, the largest free-ranging population of wild horses on Earth. We'll spend an afternoon looking for them, best done from our vehicles, on a steppe that opens up around you in every direction. Then, our first night in Agur, the round, felt-covered tent that has been Mongolia's portable home for the better part of 1,000 years. About a quarter of Mongolians still live this way, moving with their herds across seasonal pastures. There's no honest way to understand that life from a hotel room. There is one honest way to understand it: sit in someone's gur, drink the salty milk tea they offer you, and listen to the stories they have to tell. And do they have stories? Ulaanbaatar holds nearly half of the country's population and almost none of its reputation. Soviet-era apartment blocks, Buddhist temples, glass towers, and the traditional gur districts that climb the surrounding hills. We'll spend 2 nights there, enough to see the cashmere factories that produce around 40% of the world's supply, the Gandan Monastery that survived the 1937 Stalinist purges when 750 of Mongolia's monasteries didn't, and then the National Museum, which puts everything else we'll see over the next 2 weeks into context. But the real chapter of this story is 200 kilometers west at Karakorum. 800 years ago, this was the administrative heart of the largest contiguous land empire in human history. Founded early in the 13th century by Ogadai, son of Genghis Khan, it ran the affairs of an empire that stretched from Korea to Hungary until Kublai Khan moved the capital to Beijing 25 years later. By the end of the 14th century, the Ming armies had razed it. What remains is mostly underground archaeology, 4 stone turtles, and Erdene Zoo, Mongolia's oldest surviving Buddhist monastery. Its walls enclose 108 stupas, and at its peak, 1,000 monks lived inside them. But after 1937, only 3 temples were left standing. It's an unusual feeling, standing in the grass where Karakorum was. There's almost nothing to see. But somehow, that's the point. Between Kustai and Karakorum, we'll spend 2 nights at Elsen Tasarkai, one of Mongolia's small geographic surprises, an 80-kilometer strip of sand dunes that runs through the middle of the central steppe, between the grasslands and the Kugnoi Khan Mountains. The name translates loosely as an isolated piece of sand, and that's exactly what it is. We'll meet 2 different herding families on these 2 days, on Bactrian camels and on horseback. There likely aren't enough camels to take everyone at once, so we'll split into groups. Those waiting will have tea in the family's gur, which, in and of itself, is its own quiet education. The evening will be one we won't forget. Drinks at sunset, a traditional korkog, lamb slow-cooked over hot stones inside a sealed metal can, followed by a private performance of the Morin Kur, the horsehead fiddle, by an artist from the Ulaanbaatar Philharmonic. 2 strings of horsehair played in the open air on the steppe, recognized by UNESCO as a national treasure. We've arranged this performance just for our group. There aren't many places left in the world where music sounds the way it does here. After that, you experience the kind of quiet you only get when the nearest streetlight is 100 kilometers away. Mongolia is one of the least light-polluted countries on Earth. The stars are out of this world, no pun intended. Around halfway through the trip, the country changes. The steppe gives way to forest and river valleys, the days get cooler, the air wetter, and the landscape almost Siberian. We'll spend 3 nights on the Egg River, fed by Lake Kuvsgol up near the Russian border, and another 2 on the Selenge, the largest river flowing into Lake Baikal, which, for reference, is the most voluminous freshwater lake in the world. This is the heart of the trip, and the part we've protected most carefully in putting this together. 2 genuinely unstructured days in a row on the Egg, which we don't do often. You can go fly fishing in front of the lodge or out on a boat, which is an experience for itself even for non-anglers. There's kayaking, easy kayaking on the river, or you can try horseback riding through the forest with no previous experience. There's a trekking path behind the lodge and a comfortable chair on the terrace for those who'd rather not move at all. The choice is yours to take in this breathtaking location in the middle of nowhere the way you see fit. Along the Selenge, we'll walk to a viewpoint above the river, picnic by the water, and visit a Buryat village 10 minutes from the lodge. The Buryats are a Mongolic people whose traditional homeland is around Lake Baikal in Russia, and a community of them lives here in northern Mongolia, with subtly different architecture, dialect, and traditions from the Khalkha Mongols who make up most of the country. On the way back, weather and timing permitting, we'll stop at Amarbayaskalant Monastery, Mongolia's most beautiful by most counts. Built in the early 18th century in a green valley at the foot of Mount Buran Khan. 40 temples originally, 28 remaining after 1937. Mongolian, Tibetan, and Chinese architecture all in one place, symmetrical and quiet, far less visited than even Erdene Zoo given its remote location. Mongolia rewards a certain kind of traveler, curious, patient, willing to trade convenience for a country that hasn't been polished for export. As always, we'll be a small group of like-minded Canadians moving through it together at a pace that lets the place actually land. In some places, we'll take up the entire lodge or camp, and because of that, you have to book early. We have these places reserved, but we can't make more of them. If that sounds like the kind of trip you're looking for, we'd love to have you with us under the eternal blue sky.